Hi, this is Rick Roller again with your key concept review of the appraisal section of your material. First of all appraisers must be licensed. No matter which state that you are taking your examination for to receive licensing, every state requires appraisers to have an appraisal license. And this was a federally mandated thing that happened a number of years ago. So all appraisers must be licensed. If you are not a licensed appraiser, you cannot call any of the work that you might do as a real estate agent an appraisal. It can be called a market evaluation, it can be called a competitive market analysis, or other names, but you can't use the word appraisal in your work because, quite frankly, you're not a licensed appraiser. Every appraisal has some key parts to it, and you need to be aware of what these parts are because they come up all the time. First of all, every appraisal must have the signature of the appraiser on it. He has to sign that, and when the appraiser signs that appraisal report, there's some liability that goes with that and some standards that they have to abide by as well. It has to have the estimate of value, or what his or her opinion is. What is the value of that property? It has to have a property description, and most important, remember, every appraisal must have a date. Appraisals are usually only good for about 6 months or so before they're considered not really valid. If an appraisal is older than 6 months, usually a lender will require an update. When an appraiser is coming up with his market value estimate, there are several things they have to keep in their mind and that are illustrated in their report. The first is you have to understand the nature of value. Value is best defined by a mnemonic word called DUST, D-U-S-T. And each one of those letters stand for an essential element of value. Demand, utility, scarcity, and transferability all spell DUST, D-U-S-T. 4 essential elements of value: demand, utility, scarcity, and transferability. Every single one of those essential elements must be in play or you don't have any value. In addition to that, there's various types of value. Value in exchange tends to be objective. It's what a ready, willing, and intelligent buyer would pay from a ready, willing, and intelligent seller. Another word for intelligent is knowledgeable. Value in exchange tends to be objective, and it's what a ready, willing, and able, and knowledgeable buyer will pay to a ready, willing, and able, and knowledgeable seller. Value in use tends to be subjective. A property might be worth more to one person than it is to another. Just maybe they have the contiguous property next to it and are trying to expand the size of their lot. Well, they may pay a little bit more for that than someone else who's just looking for a piece of property to build something on. Fair market value is what a willing buyer and a willing seller, neither one under duress, with the sufficient market time and knowledge between both parties, that's what the appraiser is trying to come up with, fair market value. And there's also market price, and then cost versus price are another couple of concepts you need to be aware of. Market price is what the property actually sold for. Sometimes people get a good deal, and sometimes people pay too much. That's market price. May have something to do with fair market value. On the other hand, it may not. And then what someone paid for a property, cost, is probably irrelevant to what today's price is. There are many properties that were purchased back in the height of the market in 2007, which aren't worth near that today when you look at their fair market values. The appraisal process is an important concept to understand. There are 6 steps to the appraisal process, and all these steps must be there. And you can see these steps illustrated in the report that the appraiser generates. Step 1 is to define the problem. You know, appraisers can look at value differently depending on what their assignment is. They may be asked to come up with a quick sale price. They may be asked to come up with a tax value. There's a lot of different things an appraiser can look at, and defining the problem is the important first step because the nature of their assignment may change the outcome. Step 2 is conduct a survey. That's when they go out and determine their fees. They also determine what information they have to pull together in order to generate this report. Step 3 is gather the data. This is where they have to go out and find comparable sales, as well as figure out exactly what the subject property is all about, measure it, take photographs of it, and the like. Once they've gathered the data, they go to step 4, which is they classify the data. And data is classified into 3 approaches to value. These 3 approaches to value are imperative to understand for the exam. Market data approach, cost approach, and the income approach. And I'll go into these a little bit more in depth in just a few moments. Once they've gathered and classified that data, they move to step 5, which is reconcile the data. Reconciliation is a much more involved process than just averaging things out. They have to use their intelligence and their professional experience in order to come up with step 6, which is their final estimate of value, where they issue the report. So those are the 6 steps to the appraisal process. Define the problem, conduct the survey, gather data, classify data, reconcile the data, and then issue a report. Appraisal reports are normally issued in 3 different forms. Letter report, which is kind of a quick and dirty thing that most appraisers don't like to do. Short form or checklist, which is what they primarily do when they use the appraisal form, which has been nationally generated and is the approved appraisal form, which is recognized nationally. And the narrative report, which is like writing a book about the property. So the 3 types of reports: letter, form, and narrative. Important to know.